Hello, and welcome to Straight Out the Sandbox. I'm your host, Josh Schaefer, and this is going to be the Veteran Podcast, made by a veteran for all you veterans out there. We're going to be covering serious issues, funny issues, things that happen while you're in, and maybe some things to help you for when you get out, if you decide to do that. So stick around, and I will do my absolute best to make sure that this podcast is for all of you out there. All right? So let's get to it. I am doing this. All right. So, for my first episode, I wanted to talk about myself, just give you a general background of my experiences or all right, so for my first episode, I want to give you an introduction of myself. That way you can understand my background, understand some of the things in my past or whatnot that makes me qualified to have a veteran podcast, I guess. So let's go ahead and pause that. I don't like it. All right, so we're in episode 1, and this is going to be the introduction of myself and my background and where I come from. So I'll start off by saying that yes, I am a veteran. I joined the Marines. I also served in the Air Force. I joined the Marines when I was 17 years old. It was 2003. I joined, sort of didn't know what I wanted to do, and for some reason, my recruiter talked me into being a diesel mechanic, 3521. So, I don't remember the reason of why I chose that, or having any sort of connection to that, but more on that later. I like I said, joined 2003, served my whole time in Camp Lejeune. Obviously traveled around for some training, but I was always stationed at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. I deployed to Iraq in 2007 to TQ. I actually got augmented, which is interesting. I got augmented to a military police or an MP unit in North Carolina at Camp Lejeune, and so I went from being a Pogue diesel mechanic who had never deployed. I was an E4 at the time, and I got sent to a combat unit that were on like year rotations. These guys had been in this, that joined the same time as me, and they're going on their third deployments. So it's pretty crazy. And I'm sure there will be more interesting conversations about that on other episodes. So I got out of the Marine Corps in 2007. I only served 4 years. I stayed in the reserves in Rochester, New York, where I'm from, and wasn't really for me. It's really hard going from active duty to reserve, especially I was coming straight off a deployment. So, and I'm sure that'll be another episode, going from active duty to reserve, or reserve to active duty, which I've actually done both. So that'll be another interesting thing to talk about. So 2007, I got out. I attended community college using the GI Bill. I got my 2-year degree in Rochester at Monroe Community College. I was working security there for a couple years. I say there, I was working security in Rochester. Then I got hired as a deputy sheriff after a couple years, and I worked in the jail, so I was a deputy sheriff jailer. Um, I thought law enforcement was the end all be all for me. I always thought that was what I was going to do. I was going to get out, maybe go to a little school, try to be a cop. Um, but it did not work out. I didn't get fired or anything crazy like that. It just didn't work out. So, let's see here. So I stayed there for about 2 years, and while I was in the jail, one of the other deputies that were with me was in the Air Force Reserves and talked it up like crazy. Said it was awesome and the units are really cool, and he was attached to the unit in Niagara Falls, and I should check it out. And I was always told as a Marine, and I'm sure some of you Marines out there have probably heard this. Once you're in the Marine Corps, you can't go into any other branch, or I mean, at least that's what they told me. Or we had heard that, no other branch would take you coming out of the Marines. But I am here to tell you that is false. The other branches want you very badly. They know that you're already ready to go. So I actually went to the Air Force Reserves, signed up while I was still a deputy, and then I left the sheriff's office and went Air Forcing full time. Yes, I said Air Forcing. When I went into the Air Force, I joined as air transportation, which is like air logistics, moving cargo and people, and dropping cargo out of planes, which I never got to do, but my unit did that. And the MOS, or in the Air Force, they call it an AFSC, Air Force Specialty Code, is 2T2. So I was a 2T2 there. I did that. I deployed with them in 2004 to Afghanistan. I was in Kandahar, awesome deployment. And then I deployed again in 2016 back to Iraq. This time I was in Erbil, which is commonly referred to as Kurdistan. If you don't know anything about that, I'm sure I'll have a podcast or an episode about Erbil, Kandahar, or Erbil, Kurdistan. They consider themselves their own country, their own people. They don't consider themselves Iraqi, although we were deployed to Iraq, which was weird. But that is what it is. While I was deployed in 2016, I was working with a lot of contractors. It was a really small base, and they talked up being a contractor. You can make so much more money, and it is, it's awesome. You get to travel all around. It's sort of like a military recruiter talking to you. But what happened was I got back to the States and decided I should try it out. So I dropped back down to inactive reserve, and I applied for a contracting gig with the State Department. So it was really easy for me to get a job. And I'll be honest with you, people out there, if you're listening and you're like, man, that would be so cool to be a contractor in whatever field, security. I was in logistics as a contractor. If you think that, you'd like to try it out, or you want information about it, or anything, and you're thinking, oh, I'll never qualify, no, they'll never want me, not true. I was in air logistics. I had all these certifications and qualifications and all these things that I was qualified to do, and I was there with guys that had no prior experience at all. So don't think that, and you can make good money as a contractor. I will definitely have a contractor episode, but it is not for everybody, and you are living overseas. I was contracting in Iraq, in Baghdad. I spent almost 2 years there. Only came home a few times, which was tough on the family, so I ended up resigning, came back, and got into logistics here. Definitely can't make as much money here in logistics, but I got in with FedEx and did that for a couple years, 4 years actually, and then Now I am working for another company, doing basically a manager for a logistics company, and I don't want to say who it is because not speaking on behalf of them, so I don't want to bring them in. But that's my day job. Actually, I like it very much, and so that was a lot. Brings me to right now. So that was 2003 to 2023, 20 years in, I don't know, just a couple of minutes. But what I wanted to say was that I do have a lot of experience. I have a lot of weird experiences. I've worked with all the branches of the military, whether as a contractor or while I was in. I worked with the Army, I worked with the Marines and the Air Force, and the Navy. Never saw any Coast Guard, I don't think. But actually, I don't think they're considered a branch of the military. Don't get mad at me. I'm pretty sure they're part of Homeland Security. But never really worked with any Coast Guard. But I did work all over the world. I say all over the world, but Iraq, Afghanistan, and the United States, and North Carolina, and I got to do some training out in California at the beloved CAX facility. So I do have a lot of experiences, worked with different people. So making a podcast was like, I just want to do something veteran related. Some episodes are going to be just about me. Some episodes are going to have guests on, other veterans that I've already lined up, and we're going to have some good stuff. And we're going to talk about the good stuff. We're going to talk about the bad stuff. Talk about the funny stuff and everything in between. I invite you to email me. I'm going to be setting it up. I'll have the email in the description under the podcast. If you want to share with me your stories or subjects you want to hear about or that you want episodes to be about, or maybe questions that you had, or you just want to comment or say that I'm full of shit or whatever it is, that's fine. Reach out. I think that'd be great. One thing is for sure, we will be talking about veteran shit every episode. Okay, it's not going to be about politics, and maybe we'll have a little bit of stuff here and there, but it's going to be about veteran issues, things while you're in, things you're getting out, issues that veterans have, and there's a lot. So there's the VA system, there is homelessness, there's alcoholism, there's drug addiction, there's all great stuff. How great veterans do when they get out into the civilian world. I will say that I think, in my case, and in cases of a lot of people that I know, being a veteran has given you a leg up in some instances. So, if you want to get into civil service, and I say that in any aspect, whether it be a cop or a fireman, or you want to work for the state doing something, you could be an interpreter, you could do anything, counselor, whatever. When you take those exams, there's always a box. Are you a veteran? Yes, you get an extra couple points. Are you a disabled veteran? Which there's a lot of us. People that got hurt, and being a disabled veteran could be anything. You could be somebody who just lost your hearing, you have tinnitus. And I don't mean disabled like somebody who lost a leg or something like that, which is crazy. You get labeled as a disabled veteran because you get health care at the VA. So, the term disabled, I think people that get like really, really tough injuries, they don't like when other people use that term, disabled veteran, but that's all I mean when I say that. Disabled veteran means that, something happened while you're in that caused you, you go to the VA to get your health care for whatever that issue is. I did have a couple injuries while I was in. I had knee surgery, and I have tinnitus terribly. So I think that's, it's a great thing that you can do is, have a little bit of a leg up, because it is tough when you get out. And we'll talk about that. I think that's going to be my first episode after this one, is going to be talking about getting out and that hump you have to get over when you first get out, and things that you can do to help yourself, and things to avoid, maybe some help, and and share my experiences with that. I'm hoping to have a new episode every Red Friday. If you don't know what Red means, it's Remember Everyone Deployed. I was trying to pick a day. I thought Friday would be awesome. It's like the end of the work week for most people. And not for me, but it's the end of the work week for most people, so you have the weekend to maybe catch up on a podcast. I thought it'd be cool to have something to listen to over the weekend. And I don't know, maybe if this thing really takes off, which I really hope it does, then maybe we'll have more episode, or we're releasing more episodes per week. So and I'm gonna end this one. This will be a short little episode. Like I said, just an introduction. And what I will say is that I care about veteran issues very much. I care about other veterans that are out there. I think that I think we're better treated than the Vietnam veterans by a lot. So I'm not going to compare us to having the same struggles as somebody like that. But what I will say is that veterans do have a lot of issues. And we're very misunderstood. And we do it to ourselves most of the time. We shut out ourselves from other people, and we end up only hanging out with other veterans, which is fine if that's your friend group or whatever, and that's your support system. But there's a lot of things that we could do better, and there's a lot of things out there to help you. And I hope that I can cover some of those things, whether it be, helping you go to school or encouraging you to go to school, which is important in this day and age. And that doesn't necessarily mean a college. There are a lot of trade schools out there that accept the GI Bill. And if you have your GI Bill and you haven't used it, and you're like, man, I should go to school. You definitely should go to school. You earned that GI Bill. You earned it. Don't let anybody tell you you didn't earn it. I don't care if you deployed. I don't care if you did 5 years on your butt and didn't do anything. You served your country. You signed that contract. In that contract stated that you'll get your GI Bill. All right, so you deserve the GI Bill. So use it. And if you don't use it, give it to a family member. I think you can give it to your kids. I don't know if your wife can use it, possibly. I'm not sure, but I know that you can pass it on to your kids at a certain point. So there's a GI Bill, and there's different things that you can do, different things that you can lean on, job fairs and things like that. So it's really important that we try to help each other out. As a group, it is easy for people to say, like, thank you for your service. And a lot of civilians will say that. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. And they're like, we did it. We helped the veterans out. And whatever. You can thank me for my service. I don't care. I've always had an issue with people saying that to me. Just that makes me feel uncomfortable. I chose to go in the military and really enjoyed it, and you saying that doesn't really change anything for me. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing for you to say thank you for your service, but me personally, I'm just like, okay. But I think that a lot more can be done for veterans, and that's my end-all, be-all goal, would be to do anything to help veterans out. And it might just be this podcast. It might be something for you to listen to that is relatable to you. You're like, oh man, yeah, I remember getting shit-faced in the barracks. That was hilarious. Or I remember doing duty on Christmas Eve and, seeing guys running around in their underwear or going crazy. Or, you were deployed and this and that happened. Oh, I was in a dust storm. It was crazy. And, it's those things. Those are the memories. Those are the things that we cling on to as veterans. So those are the cool things I want to talk about. And they're relatable things to us. So, like I said, if there's anything that you want to hear, send me an email. If there's, specific stories or something. And I'll be honest, if you want to be on the show, I can make that happen. It's not that hard. I can have you call in. I have it set up through here so I can accept phone calls, and we can have little interviews and talk about stuff. If you're listening and there's something that you know about veteran issues that will help veterans out, whether it's a program they can apply for or different ways that they can get help or anything like that, definitely reach out to me. Give me that information, I'll pass it on. If you want to be on the show and talk about those subjects and those programs or anything, definitely reach out. I will do my absolute best to get the word out to other veterans that are out there. All right, so that's about it for now. Quick, short episode, just letting you know what this is about. You're like, is this for me? What the hell is this show? That's all it is. It's gonna be a fun veteran show. We're gonna go over some things. It's gonna be great. Thanks for joining me on Straight Out the Sandbox, and I hope I see you next time.